Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. This presentation will be done by Gina Buckley and Nada Arif. Today we will be discussing the effects of social media on body image amongst adolescent girls, ranging roughly between the ages of 13 through 17. We chose adolescent girls because studies show this group of girls is most vulnerable to the effects of social media. We hope you enjoy our presentation. The origins of media first began as a one-dimensional platform called conventional or traditional media. This included newspapers, magazines, and television. Traditional media wasn't interactive. It was a one-way street in which a single party received informational input in one direction. But all of that changed with social media sites like LinkedIn, MySpace, and Facebook, which came equipped with more interactive features. And within the span of a decade, new and improved social media sites emerged on the scenes, like Instagram and Snapchat. The difference with these new and improved sites are that they are highly interactive and mainly focus on visual content. Individuals are able to post pictures and comment on others via numerous rating systems, such as emojis, to like, dislike, and leave comments. These new media sites are called high visual social media. Although HVSM sites have become increasingly popular over time, these sophisticated platforms have become a mental health hazard for many of their users, including adolescent girls. Adolescents, peer pressure, and social media. When we think of adolescence, we think about the beginning of a tumultuous journey in self-discovery. Forging an identity is heavily driven by peer influence and peer acceptance. Socialization and identity formation define this period of development. In addition, appearance becomes an important part of a teen's identity. These factors in development make teens exceptionally vulnerable to the appeal of social media. Statistics on adolescence and social media. Research shows that 92% of teenagers in the United States between the ages of 13 and 17 reported using social media daily. 89% of teens in the U.S. reported using one online platform, such as Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Facebook. And 1 in 4 teens reported being online constantly throughout the day.
Something that's really important to note is that, developmentally speaking, teen girls are very prone to having poor body image during adolescence. And this is actually significantly worse for girls than it is for boys. And this period of time really makes them especially sensitive to the appearance-related content that they're coming into contact with online. And body image is especially affected by the changes that are occurring during puberty. So bodies are really changing for girls at this time. They might find that there's an increase in body fat in certain areas, and this just contributes to an overall feeling of self-consciousness. And because girls are relying so heavily on peers for acceptance and social status, they rely more heavily on popularity that is linked to their physical appearance. And in addition to this, physical appearance is also really influencing their self-worth at this time. And this culture of thinness and this very unrealistic beauty ideal are being internalized by girls. And something else that is significant to note is that compared to teen boys, teen girls discuss appearance and compare their bodies to others much more than boys. And body image is defined as a person's perceptions, thoughts, and feelings towards their body, which includes their perceptions towards their physical appearance. So this is intrinsically linked to self-concept and therefore affects one's self-esteem. The cognitive effects of being exposed to appearance-related content at this age are that girls are really internalizing that they have to measure up to this very unrealistic and thin beauty standard. And because of this, they're going through a process that is known as intensified cognitive internalization. And one of the first things that happens in this process is that they begin to really heavily compare their own appearance and body type to others. And the research does show that comparison can give rise to poor body esteem outcomes, which have been linked to psychological malfunctioning in adulthood. In addition, there is also pressure to conform to this very unrealistic and thin ideal. And these cognitive comparison processes actually create much greater anxiety around negative appearance evaluations. And this severely impairs body image and body esteem in adolescent girls. There has been an increased level of female sexual objectification online through social media. And this really reinforces this idea that girls and women are sexually available and can be objectified. And it also reinforces this idea that their value and self-worth come from their appearance. And this also is very prevalent in the form of likes on social media, and whether or not they're getting a high number count on their images really does also have a direct effect on their self-esteem and body image. And there is this theory called objectification theory, and this is about women and girls internalizing an observer or an outsider's perspective as a primary view of the self/body. So in this process, women and girls, instead of viewing their body just as their body, they're kind of thinking more about the way that other people might be perceiving their appearance and their body and whether or not they're attractive. And some of the motivation behind this behavior really is all about gaining peer approval and acceptance, as well as increasing self-confidence around body image. Something that's really important to consider around this issue is that the beauty standard and beauty ideal is increasingly unrealistic. And we have definitely shifted into a time where image editing software is more available to the average consumer than ever before. So now that we're all able to post images online of ourselves, we're also able to edit and enhance these images. And in one study, adolescent girls were shown images that they were told had been retouched. And it was found that despite knowing that the images were not real, the effects that it had on the girl's body image were still negative. So this idea is called social comparison theory, and it occurs when a viewer understands that an image is unrealistic, but they still feel the negative feelings about their own body image after viewing these pictures. However, on the positive side of things, more women and girls and online users in general have been coming forth more recently and showing before and afters in which either they have edited the image or posed in a certain way to angle their body to appear as being a certain shape. So I think being able to see the before and after is a really great way to start to break some of these very rigid and unrealistic standards that most of the time or some of the time actually aren't even real. One interesting find in this study was that girls actually reported that images of peers and friends that they saw online impacted their body image and body esteem more than the images that they viewed of celebrities and influencers. So because adolescents relies so heavily on peer influence and peer acceptance, it makes sense that adolescent girls are sort of determining their social and personal worth through comparing their body and appearance to others. And one girl in the study said, "When I see girls my age on Instagram, I just compare myself to them because I know it's kind of reality, if that makes sense. to know that someone my age can look like that, and then why don't I look like that? I think that's what a lot of girls would see. The adolescent girls in this study were able to identify and discuss the importance of bringing awareness and education to girls at a younger age in order for them to be more aware of the influence that social media has on body image. So these girls actually thought that 6th grade would be an optimum time for outside support systems of parents and teachers and counselors to start providing this type of education to girls. So this is the onset of puberty, when many physical changes are happening to the body and girls are becoming more self-conscious and more aware of their appearance. And in addition to this, they're also beginning to use social media for the first time around this age. So girls were able to see that, looking back, had they been provided these resources, that they didn't think that they would have the same issues around navigating social media and having it impact their body image in a negative way. So one way of doing this would be providing some sort of educational programs where adolescents and girls were able to critique images on social media within the school curriculum in order to improve this social media literacy for adolescent girls their age. So I just thought it was really cool that the girls in the study already had ideas around ways that people around them could help them develop a more positive relationship towards body image and the way that they interact with social media.
The emotional effects of social media. Studies show that teenage girls who engage in social media use consistently have reported a variety of emotional issues such as anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. Teens who engaged in online platforms, specifically high visual social media sites such as Instagram and Snapchat, have reported increased pathological symptoms in which they internalize their feelings, leading to maladaptive thinking patterns and behavioral issues. Body shaming and body surveillance. Social media is unprecedented in shaping an individual's attitudes and perceptions about their bodies. It has become the unofficial cyberpower in establishing the cultural standards for beauty. Social media sites such as Instagram and Snapchat have created unrealistic and often unattainable body types by use of numerous filters, leaving adolescent girls in a perpetual state of discontentment. Albert Bandura's social learning theory states that individuals learn from one another through observation, imitation, and modeling. The imitation and modeling set in motion by social media has led many teenage girls to body shaming. Body shaming is when an individual feels negatively towards their body. This could be directed towards a specific body part or just towards oneself entirely as inadequate or subpar. Another issue many teens encounter through excessive engagement on social media is called body surveillance. Body surveillance is the excessive monitoring of an individual's body. The individual obsessively focuses on their physique, leading to body shaming and feelings of perpetual inadequacy. Body surveillance can lead to many maladaptive thinking patterns or cognitive issues. In an interview of 24 teenage girls, researchers Chua and Chang found that in order to please their followers, social media users presented heavily cropped and highly presentable pictures of themselves. The interview revealed that adolescent females and young women placed high value on physical attributes and beauty in hopes to receive more attention and reassurance or likes for their post, specifically from their peers. Longitudinal studies have found that browsing through other users' idolized images leads to higher depression levels over time. Biosocial Biosocial and physical effects. One of the most important aspects in understanding development is that there are a variety of complex systems working together. The interplay of these different variables are crucial to the healthy development of an individual. The biopsychosocial theory is a complex interplay of biological, psychological, and social factors that drive development. The period of adolescence represents the perfect example of all of these complex systems in motion. When we apply the biopsychosocial model to adolescence, we are given a picture as to just how vulnerable this age group is to the effects of social media. Biologically speaking, teens are going through tremendous physiological changes such as puberty, which leads to rapid development of their bodies. In addition, teens become interested in the opposite sex and begin dating. Physical appearance becomes a big part of peer acceptance. Socially, peer acceptance and influence become a driving factor and motivator in identity development and social integration, or initiation into the world. Psychologically speaking, teens have entered into their formal operational stage, where cognitive complexity and complex reasoning are initiated. The ability to reason in abstract and multidimensional ways can become a tool for growth and positivity, or it can be used to be hypercritical if immersed in an unhealthy arena, such as unhealthy peer group or social media. Social cultural theory supports the phenomenon of social media impact on body image issues amongst adolescent girls. This theory, created by Lev Vygotsky, states that development is heavily influenced by the culture in which we are immersed. Social cultural context and an individual's interaction within that context heavily influences the ideas, values, and standards of an individual. Social cultural theory is being used extensively in understanding the influence of various different social agents, such as peers, parents, and social media, and how these different social platforms work together and individually in shaping the identity and perceptions of an individual. With the use of various theoretical frameworks, studies show a strong causal relationship in social media engagement and body dissatisfaction, leading to body surveillance, body shaming, and eating pathology amongst adolescent girls.
So, in terms of multicultural issues, I really did find that there was a lack of research on adolescence. Typically, the most research that I found was about the link between social media use and body image in women, not adolescents. However, I was able to find a few interesting things. And the first is that there seems to be some differences in body image across ethnic groups. This study was conducted on 9th and 10th grade girls. The demographic was African American and white students. And these girls were showed images of very thin white fashion models. And the white girls in the study were very affected by the images that they saw and felt like they were experiencing a significant effect on body image and self-esteem. Whereas the African-American adolescents in the study reported completely different results. The majority actually criticized the appearance of the thin models, and they reported being generally less affected by images in the media that portrayed white women in general. They said that these were clearly white ideals and that they did not compare themselves to these images or want to look like these people. So I thought that was very fascinating. And then another study, a much smaller study, was conducted in Florida. This was at a middle school, and similar results were found in that African American girls felt the least amount of influence in terms of body image and societal pressures to be thin. And Latinas in this study felt the most, with white teens feeling about the same as Latinas. So really interesting results. And in terms of some other stuff that was found with women, it did seem that generally speaking, African American women feel much more comfortable with their bodies. And this is probably due to familial and cultural factors of influences, because most people reported that they actually felt more pressure from their family and others in their community to look a certain way versus feeling pressure from media. And then back to the first study, it was sort of suggested that white teens might be feeling especially pressured, white teen girls, by media because they are represented the most. So these white adolescents are constantly being bombarded by images of very thin women that they are expected to aspire to be like. And because it's such an unrealistic standard to meet, they're really struggling. So there still is a lot of research that needs to be done around this on adolescent girls because there isn't enough to make really big sweeping calls yet, but just wanted to share what I found. The body positivity movement emerged in the mid-90s, and it was a really radical political movement that was led by queer Black women, and it directly challenged this very white Eurocentric beauty standard and kind of went up against these very unrealistic beauty ideals that are prevalent everywhere in media. And it promoted self-acceptance and self-esteem and self-love. So we can see this movement online today in the form of body positivity Instagram accounts. So these accounts typically feature much more diverse body types as well as populations. And they also feature much more authentic images of, what we consider imperfections, such as, acne, cellulite, stomach rolls. And I think that because girls are consuming so much media that depicts this very thin ideal, that the more representation of diversity in media that we see, the better it will be for not only adolescent girls, but also women and people everywhere who feel such pressure to conform to a very unrealistic standard. Picked more diverse. So for counseling strategies, counselors can really play a pivotal role in helping adolescent girls understand this link between body image and social media. And through educating them, can help to create more mindful practices around social media use. So given that so much of the research shows that the more excessive the social media use, the more affected teen girls are from a body image and self-esteem standpoint. So just limiting some of that use and also being mindful of what is being consumed online. So what accounts they're following, do those accounts make them feel good, and so on and so forth. So education is definitely key. And something that I was really shocked to find within my research was this new study that suggests that teen girls who have negative body image actually are predicted to be at a greater risk of being sexually victimized and exploited online. So I think it's especially important to really educate teens on topics like the safety risks of oversharing visual content online and what some of the risks are around that. Group counseling and group counseling with a CBT focus specifically have been proven effective to help adolescent girls build a healthier body image. And given that this is a time when peer acceptance and peer influence are really at an all-time high, this is a great way for teens to sit together with peers and friends and kind of unpack these issues together and sort through them. Group discussion help teens feel a sense of belonging. And this study specifically actually found that teen girls increased their body image from the negative to the positive categories. So at the beginning of the study, the girls were at 25% in terms of body satisfaction. And once the study was completed and they had attended group counseling with their peers, it went all the way up to 29%. So definitely seeing an effect there. And I think that school counselors specifically can really work with teens to set up these types of group counseling settings, and also to create some educational programs around not only body image and self-esteem, but also social media use and how those two are linked, as I previously mentioned. Cognitive restructuring is a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy. It was actually used in the study that I just mentioned about the adolescent girls who received group therapy with a CBT focus. And cognitive restructuring is really all about bringing more awareness to negative and maladaptive thought patterns, and then changing those thought patterns to more positive ones. So this is a worksheet that I found. I thought that it was just a really easily digestible way of introducing the concept of CBT to a teen client and helping them understand the way that thoughts, feelings, and actions are all interconnected. This is a quote from the same study, and I think it really illustrates the importance of adolescents feeling a sense of community and belonging, and how helpful that can be in terms of building identity and improving self-confidence and self-esteem in general. And the quote is, "Group therapy helps students to explore feelings that were never expressed, to know their weaknesses, and to accept their current physical endowment, leading to more confident self-expression. Group therapy can help acquire a positive body image, improve self-confidence, and build self-esteem as a result of discussion and feedback from group members during the group counseling sessions." And we have reached the end of our presentation. The last thing that we have here is just a few questions that we would love for you to throw into the discussion board and let us know what you think. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning into our presentation, and we hope that you have a wonderful night.